Radio Free Cybertron.
Transformers. Rewind.
This week on Transformers Rewind, it's Only Human from Generation 1. Yeah, we kind of already did this one before.
We've been waiting weeks for a break in this case. Even an anonymous tip beat Zip.
And if it's a trap springer?
Chief, no offense. I mean, maybe this Victor Drat is tough, but he's still only human.
Only Human.
Woo!
I love Only Human so much for lots of reasons. I'm just going to throw them out there. Rodimus gets laid. It's a G.I. Joe episode. Rodimus gets laid. It's contrived as hell, but in a good way.
It's another 1980s cartoon.
I think my favorite. Some of my favorite lines ever are from this, and Victor Draft saying, "This is Michelle. She's come to watch you die." I love that so much.
Potentially
full of
I disagree.
really
This isn't just an 80s stock cliche. They're still using this cliche today. Super Sentai did it just this past weekend.
Well, what happened in them? Aren't they people anyway?
Yes.
Who got transformed? Well, who got
they also switched around a lot of brains.
So basically,
not that a lot of them had a lot of brains to begin with.
So in this episode, the Autobots.
It's the same thing.
This is about non-human characters becoming human, which is totally Turtles did it.
And human characters having their way with Transformers, which doesn't happen that often. The Autobots foil this plot of Victor Draft, who wanted to steal
official sources anyway.
He wanted to steal this energy thing.
Yeah.
Just basically to set up. So basically, was it what was it? What was it called? Chris?
Neutronium.
So it's like this little thing. It's highly explosive. Rodimus takes it from the guy and looks at it. Somebody else shoots it.
Scratches his ear with it.
Yeah, he scratches his ear.
I love that he scratches his face with it. I mean, that's equivalent to the guy scratching his face with a gun.
And it blows up, and then he and Ultra Magnus get knocked into the bay, and Rodimus is like, "When am I going to learn to be more careful?" And Magnus is like, "Hopefully at the next opportunity." Such a great line.
There are some great lines in this episode. For being an awful season 3 episode, there are some great lines.
But basically, the gist of it is,
this is the world. The draft. Everything is for sale.
The humans decide they want to get the Autobots out of the way, so they hire this guy named Snake, who is he's a former
subtle.
He's a former terrorist or something, the former leader of an organization, and this organization had technology. The thing I like about this is...
Just remember, of course, this is the far-flung year of 2005.
Yes.
Or was it 2006 by this point?
This is 6.
2006. 2006, yeah.
Cobra Commander in this episode, he uses his brains, and he's not just like this bumbling leader. His background is science, supposedly. And he uses technology to further along the plot. He builds this machine that, will transfer brains from one being into a synthetic being, which is sort of pointless in this because they don't want to keep the Synthoids around. They just want the Autobot brains out.
This seems like a really poorly thought out plan. You're going to take the brain, you're going to separate the Autobots from their consciousness, and then you're just going to slag both. Can you just slag the Autobots?
It's basically they're... Yeah, but they're taking the brains out of the Autobots
you're probably strong enough to be able to kill them.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, it's like, but only if they're removing the consciousnesses from the Autobots' bodies, so they'll be able to destroy the Autobots' bodies, so they won't be able to fight back or resist or anything, And they're just dumping. I mean, the cool thing about this episode is that the Synthoids are a real thing from the G.I. Joe cartoon. They were in like 4 episodes of the G.I. Joe cartoon.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The Synthoid conspiracy they were in, and then they were.
This is the only episode of G.I. Joe.
And effectively, Serpentor is also one. You could say.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing.
Not the exact same thing.
I mean, if you ever want to watch a really good G.I. Joe episode, go and watch Steve Gerber's 2-parter. What's it called? There's No Place Like Springfield.
Yes, Springfield.
Which is a Synthoid episode, and it's messed up. It's like a 1970s Marvel comic. You could see it's a really super Steve Gerbery, where well, I won't tell it, but no, I'll not tell you in case you go and watch it, because it's a really good isolated. It's the 2-part season finale.
It's the only episode a lot of people remember about G.I. Joe.
It's a really good one. It's full of like ridiculous imagery as well, like little girls with rocket launchers and stuff, but it's really messed up in a 1980s cartoon sort of way. Yeah. It's where a 1970s horror comic meets a 1980s cartoon. But yeah, Synthoid were a real thing, and no, they didn't have the whole brain swapping thing. That's not from because the whole point of Synthoids was they were supposed to replicate and imitate people, and they were for espionage. So putting the real person's brain in it defeated the point. But
so basically, they do the thing. The brains are swapped. The Synthoids are there. At that point, you would think they would have just put bullets into the brains of the Synthoids. No, they were thrown in the dumpster and then taken to the dump to be crushed.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how mobsters do it like that. They got to take them out back and put them for a pair of cement shoes. I mean, That's what these guys are dressed up as. They're really like futuristic 2005 typical mobsters, freaking with the whole Don Johnson coat over the blazer thing.
Oh my god!
So the Autobot / humans escape. They find overalls that fortunately match the color.
Yes, thankfully they found those clothes that just happen to match their color scheme.
How incredibly lucky that they find their exact color schemes just hanging on a wall in a semi-G.I. Joe base.
I let it go.
So basically they decide they have to do something to get their bodies back. So they split up. The most important part of this episode, though, is Rodimus finds Michelle. After a scuffle, she brings him in. And the next morning, they have coffee.
Made you breakfast.
So I'll admit. So this is a re-record. We already did Only Human as a rewind before, and it was JD and Paladin, and it's already aired. It's already out there. I just over-embellished the scene. If you get a chance, go back and watch it. I'm not going to retread that. But when we post this, we'll also link to the other episode. And I just have a blast just screwing with that scene, just remixing it. It's awesome. But basically, yeah, Rodimus gets laid. So go Rodimus. That's more than most trans fans can say.
You do have to wonder. You're a bad
Oh,
you do have
wow.
to wonder if they were deliberately implying that or not. So.
Yeah, it is kind of like the next morning thing.
I'm certain that was deliberate. I'm certain that was, at the very least, they knew.
But if they were supposed to be doing, they seem to be doing the whole, Gangsters Mall is actually a good girl who wants out of this life, and then she turns them over to draft the next day. Like, so what's going on there?
I bet Rodimus was very bad.
Yeah. Oh God. Probably lasted about.
You don't think RC taught him anything?
I don't think it translates.
Or was she too busy with Daniel?
Oh,
you're a bad man.
Can't tell Don about this episode.
I love
and now the image is stuck in your head, so it's worth it.
God.
I always say about Only Human, though. I think Only Human is really crying out to be a two-parter.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
because the episode is a breakneck hurtle to the final scene. The show never ever gets a chance to actually do anything with the fact the Autobots are humans. They just we're humans now. We got to get our bodies back, and they split up and they go, RC, you go that way. Go back to Autobot City, where everybody thinks you're crazy. Magnus and Springer, you go and try and ingratiate yourself with draftsmen and get our bodies back. I'm gonna go get laid, and that's it. Just goes off in those, and they never do anything. Like there's one really great little scene. It's Springer on the city streets, and he he's looking in the window and says, "I already need a shave," and then some Hare Krishna type tries to give. The path to true enlightenment, only $29.95. Sorry, pal, I'm a robot at heart. That's a great little scene. I love, and it's like it's the only time the episode actually tries to have fun with the fact the Autobots are humans. Otherwise, it is just treated as the thing that has to be dealt with this week, and it always and everything is just it's so fast, boom, 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 one after the other, and nothing even gets.
That's gonna be
and they even moved way too fast, like at the end, because they didn't.
Yeah.
like Rodimus just ends up back with them. They don't ever explain like the whole draft thing. Like, what does Draft turn himself over? There's no explanation of the fight between him and Rodimus. That just gets completely glossed over.
So,
just jump.
Another series or whatever could have treated this like as a whole season, because there's so much you can do with it. Like, look at Superior Spider-Man right now. It's basically a brain swapping story, and they're going to go at 50 issues with it.
Something's happening there anyway. I mean,
it
could be an end in sight, but
it's good and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fish out of water, and they could have gone so much farther with it than they did.
I mean,
instead we got all of 20 minutes on it.
Yeah, really.
That's more than Michelle got.
I mean, the episode is. Oh, I just got that. I mean, it's a very memorable episode for the concept, and to be honest, like the G.I. Joe subplot, crossover, illusion, whatever, elevates it above what it would be like if it was just some random, if it was just Drath using technology he had purloined to do this to the Autobots. I mean, because the Cobra Commander's awesome. He is. He's the best thing about all of G.I. Joe. He's mainly the reason I read or watch or do anything associated with G.I. Joe. And this is like after the fall of Cobra or something, and it's like he's even got little scaly snake fingers through his torn gloves, and you're like, so does that mean they knew what was going to happen to him at the end of G.I. Joe the movie, or did they always just think he was a snake man? And like, I've read the production notes on this episode because they were included on one of the UK DVDs, and it's like they're all full of underlines and exclamation marks. It's like whoever was writing it was like really excited about the idea of the episode, about doing it. And it's just this breakneck set of 20 minutes that's just jumping from event to event that never gets to do anything with it. And it lacks even like, even though they have some good ideas, but then it's you don't even, it's like, did you enjoy your sojourn as a human, Rodimus? Perceptor asks him at the end of the episode, and Rodimus looks at Michelle and goes, maybe too much, Perceptor. And we've cut scene. There's not even a moment of silence to let it sink in or let you reflect or anything. And the concept is so laden with potential that animated would do it again.
Yes.
And actually theirs was pretty crap too. Actually, I mean, that was some of the worst episodes of animated. I think those two human episodes, because it was a really bad two-parter. If they'd actually done a two-parter about the Autobots being humans, then the whole second part just wasn't about that. It was about guys who weren't Autobots being Autobots, and I guess they were trying to do like a two parallel thing, but it didn't work. And then it turned out they were just in virtual reality anyway, and it was set at Christmas for some reason in the height of summer. Yeah, that wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I apparently tried to not remember all that. Okay.
I still think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit with the Cobra Commander in this episode, because they spend most of the time just referring to him as Old Snake or whatever and just shooting him from the back so they can have the big emotional impact at the very end where he tries to say Hail Cobra again, but then in the middle of the fight scene, they just cut right to his big shiny face again, so the surprise and suspense is ruined.
Well, you see his face from the very start.
Yeah.
I
mean, there's no question that
face is probably the wrong term, but I get what you mean.
Play it, yeah. I mean, you see him from the start right away. The voice is unmistakable. I don't think there's and they say from the very start, you used to be part of a terrorist organization that had technology that existed in the G.I. Joe cartoon. I don't think they were trying to hide it or anything. But
they could have played it out a bit more just to keep people wondering what if they really wanted to, though.
Yeah,
seems like
a missed
potential.
You wonder if they're going to go all the way with it and make an overt reference. And then
so at this point, we're kids. I mean, who remembers watching this when they were a kid? When it first aired.
Yeah, I'm not that old, sorry.
I was an adult.
No.
I did.
Season 3 I didn't watch, so yeah.
So, as a kid, I recognized the voice, but I don't know that I drew any parallels at that point until he probably tried to say Cobra at the end. And golly gee whiz, that's Cobra Commander.
Oh boy, Billy.
Yeah.
Oh... Do you like gladiator movies?
What?
Anyway.
Great episode. Fantastic episode.
I really do like Only Human, but I think it's mostly the G.I. Joe, the connection that elevates it well above the the limitations it places on itself.
So under the Marissa Fairborn...
Definitely one of my favorite G.I. Joe episodes.
So other than Marissa Fairborn and her father, what other references to G.I. Joe are there in season 3? Is that it?
Those are the two specific ones. I mean, they make a couple of allusions. What is it? Big Broadcast of 2006. Like, there's a cartoon called Space Age Jack, where they fight slimy reptiles, and their catchphrase is "Yo, Jack." I don't think they're.
Cold Slither gets played in an episode, but I don't think that's a.
That's a season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I've never been entirely clear whether or not like the Cold Slither music was composed for that G.I. Joe episode and then entered the Sunbow back catalog and got recycled, or if it was already a piece of, Sunbow library music that they just put lyrics to for G.I. Joe.
A band of vipers playing a tune. That's what we are.
With an iron fist and a reptile's hiss.
I love that.